Alright, welcome to Radio Free Boss Key episode 2. It is 2015 now. We have moved into the brand new year, middle of the month. Actually, I think it's like the 26th. It's the end of the month.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god, what is happening here? So I'm Rohan Rivas, and I'm joined with
Matt Fischman,
Chris Wells,
and Joshua Parker.
Cool. So two gentlemen from the previous cast, and a new recruit, Chris Wells.
Yes.
you're legend.
Thanks for letting me in on this, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we'll get into this later, but the moment I saw the Evo roster come out, I think it was last week, it's like, oh my god, this is perfect. This is perfect. We got to get Chris on.
Yeah.
He's perfect to talk about this stuff. So yeah, we'll just jump right into it. It's 2015, and we'd like to start with what we're playing. And Matt, what are you playing right now?
So obviously I'm playing some League, always playing League. It's a new season, preseason just finished, so getting back into the ranked play, hoping to carry myself out of silver this season. It's going to be tough, doing with Josh, of course. You know, we're having some wins, we're having some losses. Not going to talk too much about the losses. But in addition to League, I've actually been playing the Ease series on Vita. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these games.
Yes.
But they're like Japanese action role-playing games, and it's really cool, man. It's like a lot different than what you would expect from sort of a Western action RPG, which is always like Diablo, Torchlight, very like computer game sort of background. The E series is more like hack and slash action gameplay, but with like the story and the trappings of a JRPG.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sort of started getting into the series recently. I never really played it before, but they're really good, man. Falcom seems to make a lot of these games, and they're awesome.
You know, I've been into Ease ever since like 1989 or 1970, since like the TurboGrafx 16 came out with the
So you know the old school stuff.
Yeah, the old school stuff, and it was like mind blowing because it was the first one, the first game that I remember that had like cutscenes and had like the CD soundtrack and everything.
Yeah.
It had a high point of entry because the CD-ROM was like $400. I had to rent it from like a game place, you know. So, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's been around for a while. It's good stuff.
Again, the Vita is the stealth retro portable, man. Like, there's been no other portable gaming system that I've played more old games that I've replaying than on the Vita with the digital library and the backlog.
Yeah, definitely. I'm loving it. I would recommend it if you guys have Vita to check it out.
Yeah.
Totally.
I played a little bit of Ease on PC actually. Like I actually bought a couple of them on PC and played them. So I'm into that kind of thing, and they're kind of character based and story based. So I'm kind of into that. So I find a little time to play a lot of like character-based like RPG games, but these are the ones I kind of have time to pick up and play because they're so action-oriented. I have a little bit more time with them.
All right, Josh. So what are you playing?
Like Matt said, you know, we're playing League. We're definitely playing that, trying to get this whole season figured out. But as far as other games are concerned, I played a lot of the Evolve beta or alpha, I guess, when it came out a couple weeks ago. I was playing that, and I was really super duper into that. Like playing that. And just like understanding the classes and how they're all set up and like fighting as a monster and all that crap, it just really like is this new kind of aspect of playing. It's kind of like playing Left 4 Dead 1 all over again. Like it's this new learning different things and having this things you got to learn how to do and play as a group, and this like silent aspect of playing as a team that just these Turtle Rock games, I guess what was Valve before, but like these Turtle Rock games kind of like they give players like this aspect of you're playing as a group. We're not going to tell you how to play as a group. We're going to give you tools and you're going to figure it out. And for some reason, there's just no real griefing about it because the game is so focused and it's so intense. You don't really feel like, you know, oh, this guy's an asshole and I don't like him and he's, you know, I hate this dude. Like, it never feels that way. It's like everybody's on the same mission. Everybody's trying to hunt down a monster. The monster, he's by himself, but he's trying to kill everybody. And it's like, and it's clear. There's no craziness. I mean, and then you win some, you lose some, but it always is a really impactful because it always climaxes to this point where you gotta fight the monster. Like it's always this point. It's never like, you know, there are other ways to win the game mode, but it always ends in like monster versus hunter fight, and that's really fun. So
Yeah,
that's really fun.
Yeah, the thing about that game that's always been really appealing to me is this interesting flow to it. You know, like the monster starts off really, really weak, and then, you know, you try to stealth around, you try to kill creeps, you try to, you know, evolve, and then by the end of the game, you know, the tables have turned completely. And I don't know, I think that style 4 versus 1 is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys actually both get into the alpha? football?
I played it previously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played it at trade shows and stuff.
What do you think about the whole like forcing the metagame of having like one of each role in every single game?
I think for what it's worth, I think it's very interesting for what they're trying to do, because it means that they're forcing you to play a specific style of game, because they know that the game, they built this like combat around these things, these roles have to exist on the map, because the classes are so different that like you can't really beat the monster without having the trapper, because the trapper is what puts the dome up. You
Right.
need that, and nobody can just do that. So they force players to play different styles, which in some aspects you might think is very constraining, but actually it's somewhat freeing, because the thing is, when you're playing a particular role, you know exactly what you need to do to play the game. Like you're not
There's no ambiguity.
exactly no ambiguity. You're not thinking about, well, what style of assault am I going to play today? Am I going to play like trapping assault? No, you're playing assault. You need to be good at playing assault. Play it a specific way. Understand how to use your abilities, and you're really good at it, and you'll play it. Like, oh, I'm playing a medic today. You're really good at playing a medic, and like that allows you to really focus, and it's what actually makes it really good, because you're not concerned about trying to do somebody else's role, or like somebody's not playing the role correctly or whatever. It's because the role is really based around like, it's pretty clear and simple like what you're supposed to do, and that makes it really work.
Yeah, I just like the fact that in this world of like 32 versus 32 players, 64 versus 64 players, like there's a company in a game that wants to try to take a risk and scale it back, right?
Yeah.
4 versus 1, like that on paper is pretty pretty inspiring.
crazy.
Yeah, right. But when you look at it, it's pretty inspiring with what they've done.
Yeah, definitely a fun game. Definitely a fun game. How do you guys?
So Rohan, what are you playing these days?
I just finished The Evil Within, and it's
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
yeah, it's been on my, like, I got it when it came out, but then, a lot of stuff was happening in my personal life, and then Dragon Age came out, and Dragon Age, like, dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
I'm using Matt's keyword here. It dominated my play sessions for, like, a couple months almost. Yeah, all
But now
through
you're
December.
done.
Now, I finished Dragon, and The Evil Within was okay. I wouldn't say it's, like, the return of survival horror. The end of the game really, spoiler alert, kind of. The end of the game really just became a series of challenge rooms, which I thought was like, okay, I can tell that they're needing to wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little disappointed in that regard.
How
But
did they hit on the horror though? Like, was it scary or was it
Well,
more
here-
action?
here's the thing, like, I'm sure you guys can gather the nature of the game is psychological. It's the evil within.
Yeah.
It's not actually taking place in the real world, and because of that, it's actually a lot less scary.
Right.
Because
Oh,
it's because it's like this is all happening in this dude's subconscious, and to me that makes the game a lot less horrific, as if it were something that was happening in real, in the real
That's
world.
interesting.
Yeah.
And that's just me because I'm a huge horror fan. I love survival horror games. I'm gonna play the Resident Evil remastered.
Oh, you're all in on that.
Oh, dude! Even though I've replayed that game like 90 times.
Yeah, you probably call it biohazard.
Yeah,
that's
I have. When I was in high school, I ordered from Japan the Stars. It was the Beretta. It was an airsoft Beretta.
Oh, you're right.
And I paid like $200 for it. Like,
Go get 'em.
yeah, and it has like the Star Special Tactics and Rescue Squad like
Alright.
insignia on the handle and everything. No, I mean I'm a huge survival horror fan, but at the end of the day, I thought The Evil Within was good. Definitely not the return of Shinji Mikami's like survival horror masterpiece or
Right.
anything like that. It seemed a little rushed, and it seemed
I can't judge because I have the GameCube version, the PS2 version, and the Xbox 360 version of Resident Evil 4, and I've played through them all several times, and it's still one of the best games I've ever played.
I absolutely 100% totally agree, and you can see like this game took a lot of cues from that in terms of like the perspective, the third person, over the shoulder, like really close corridors, all of that kind of stuff. The shooting mechanics were almost exactly the same, but yeah, it just didn't have that magic, man. Didn't have that special sauce. And,
One thing I thought they did really, that Capcom did really well with Resident Evil 4 was the atmosphere and the mood, like the melancholy of the forest in the village. It's just this overcast, just like late fall.
Ominous.
Yeah, it's very ominous, and the pacing was really good, and the castle was just something I wasn't expecting. I mean, it was just completely creepy. I still remember there's a particular room that you go into that you have Ashley with you, and it's there's like little there's water areas on each side, and there's torches, and this huge room you have to get past all these cult members. And I was like, I can't believe they went this far. It was just the craziest and scariest thing. I thought it was awesome.
What's the name of the little villain in that? He was like the Lord of the Castle. Salazar.
Yeah, Salazar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had like the little Napoleon hat.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that guy was great. We love you, Salazar.
Yes, exactly.
Rest in peace.
Thanks for the memories.
We'll see you in the next iteration on when it re-releases on the Xbox One and PS4. All right, Chris, what are you playing?
All right. Well, I'm kind of sharing some time with actually playing with my niece, playing Final Fantasy X and 10-2 Remastered.
Oh,
So, you know, I've always been a big Final Fantasy fan.
Nice.
So it's kind of cool that they re-released it and kind of polished it up a bit. And
Still the same voice acting.
Still the same. Yeah, it's
Still the Blitzball in the game.
Yeah,
All day, every
It's
day.
not a bad. It's a good game, but
The Blitzball is crucial, but I love the art style. Like, me being an artist, I appreciate that they're kind of coming from like that South Asian style of art and decor, and I thought the color schemes and everything were really nice and vibrant. I really like that world that they created. I thought that was in the 3D era probably the most effective one, probably the most beautiful one, really. For myself, I still play occasionally BlazBlue, and right now I'm on Guilty Gear XL.
Oh, that's right. So you're playing Guilty Gear. I was doing some reading about this lately, sort of the whole Roman cancel setup. I don't know how deep into Guilty Gear you get, but it seems like it's really cool where like you build up this meter and then you can spend the meter to cancel your move at any frame.
Yes,
which is
everything
like,
based
it's a
off the tension.
mind-boggling thing to bring that into a fighting game.
Yeah, there are yellow Roman cancels.
So what's the difference? Like, what does a yellow Roman cancel do?
To be honest, that part is so. All
It's
I know is that
complicated,
at that point, there's a forced Roman cancel. There's a yellow one, but I don't know exactly the difference between them, except I think in cost. Now, the cool thing with those type of games, like I've always been like a fighting games fan, but the cool thing that's interesting about Guilty Gear is that it's a little unorthodox for fighting games. It punishes you for staying back, keeping a distance. It kind of forces you to be aggressive because that's the only way you earn tension. And it actually gives you a negative penalty if you do hang back. And the cool thing with that game that I always liked is that their characters are very unorthodox. Some where you're essentially more or less controlling two characters at the same time effectively. Or you're always managing, a character's calories, for example. There's a character that gets a little fatigued, so every once in a while he has to eat like a ham hock or whatever. He has to eat this thing, or else he gets exhausted and he's vulnerable for a second. So
I always love those kinds of mechanics too. Like Virtua Fighter has the drunken boxer guy who's always got to keep drinking to keep his combos going. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. I really appreciate what Arc Systems Works does historically, because I kind of regard them as far as fighting games go, kind of a rebel studio.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because if you look at the way they do things compared to how Capcom does things, it's definitely very different, but it's also interesting because their games are probably some of the most technical that are out there, and like learning, that's the reason why I've always, like I was, original Guilty Gear, like huge on that game, and like, XR is one game that I'm slowly getting into, like enjoying playing it, but it's just, they're so technical in the fact, and it's fun to just get into a game that you play it and you know that you just suck at it.
Yeah.
Like you're just bad. Like you're not as good. And when you watch people play, like I'm good, and you watch somebody like, oh man, I don't even know what he just did.
It is rough out there. I tried playing online for a while, and I think one thing that's sort of difficult. Well, it's a cool thing in a way because they allow crossplay. PS3 versus PS4. So you can do that. The downside is if you choose PS4, you only really have one choice to get, one option to get a legitimate joystick, at least in the U.S. without having to go for an import.
Are you using those fighting sticks? You're all in.
I was trying to get the Hori stick, but it was
the stick.
The only one is left is like going for about $300. So I think what they're doing is. They're probably waiting till like a larger release, like a Street Fighter.
Yeah, one Street Fighter comes out.
I think they're gonna go with that. The problem is, I find that a lot of players online, if you choose to do crossplay, they're coming from PS3, then there's a good chance that they're playing with a joystick, and that means a lot in that game because of the dashing ability. It's a big deal in that game.
Yeah,
so.
pad is a big disadvantage.
Yeah. It's pretty tricky. So like I found that my best option is to choose a character that isn't so quick with the combos. It's more of like a power characters, so that you don't have to do a lot of cancels and dashes in order to get it.
So what do you think about this like aspect that kind of like BlazBlue did a little bit of this like in their game where they actually would map to like the D-pad on the controller. They mapped some of your specials actually to the D-pad. So there's like an argument that's out there that is like in a fighting game, I'm playing as a well-trained crazy fighter that does all this really cool stuff. So I don't need to learn and have to be able to put in crazy button combinations to be able to do it. Because it's not about the button combination, it's about the aspect of using the ability at the right time, especially for abilities that like infinite starts into like infinite frames, into like have quick frames and jabs and things like that. Like, so what do you think about the fact that people saying that I don't want to do button combinations, I don't want to do Hadoukens, I don't want to do like half circle, I don't want to do full like like a quarter circle, I don't want to do those. I just want to push a button and it lets me do a move. And then now the tactic is when do I use that move at the right time? Like how do you, from a fighting game perspective?
Well, for me, one thing I thought that was brilliant about BlazBlue, I think they have probably the most innovative fighting scheme or system that I've ever seen. In that normally standard Street Fighter is 3 levels of punch, 3 levels of kick. So you have 6 buttons to work with a joystick. So at BlazBlue, it's they don't necessarily categorize them as punches or kicks. They're just attacks. So there's 4 buttons. It's light, medium, strong, and then there's a button called drive. And the drive button is basically what makes each character different and special. So there's always that if you think about it in a way, it's like it's a do something cool button. So you have a character like Ragna, who's kind of like the Ken of BlazBlue, and his drive is basically when he strikes somebody, some energy comes from them and he absorbs some of it. But depending on if you push forward with that or up or whatever, you have different things. So it's a little simple to get in, and they still have the quarter circle stuff. And there's a play off of like wall bounces and air dashes in that game where there's a reward for being able to continue a combo. But it does it does cap at a certain point where you can't just juggle a person infinitely and still get still clock damage on it.
Yeah,
so.
but BlazBlue definitely they actually reduce damage the longer your combo goes down. So you can't infinite juggle. It's not like it's not like KI where like you can fucking like just juggle people until like for forever and like completely get like a 75 hit combo and like kill somebody. But but combos are super important though in Blaze because like especially for Ragnar because I like play a lot of Ragnar. Like I would probably say I'm somewhat of a Ragnar main when it comes to playing the game. So like I play like a lot of Ragnar. Like his opener with his drive is basically like it's like a Ken or Ryu like Dragon Punch or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that the opening aspect of it is invincible. So you use it to get out of really bad situations because Blaze is about getting people in corners. It's like boxing where you get somebody in a corner and you hold them in the corner and you combo them and you flip them back in the corner and you combo them and you keep doing that. But the thing is his drive gets you out of that. So invincible's out, you can dash and now you're on the other side and which is really cool from that game's perspective, and it makes that when you get comboed, you don't like some games when you start getting comboed, it's just like you just kind of put the controller down. You're like, yeah, I just died, like because I can't fight back. Whereas here's like the combos are important, but it's important from a perspective of keeping the player off balance. Mm-hmm. It's not about killing them. It's about just trying to get them off balance the whole time. If you fight through it, you can actually, especially with like breaks and like stuff like that, like burst or whatever.
One thing I could appreciate with that game in particular is that they slowed the speed down enough so that when you see somebody that's doing combos or what have you, you know that it's very purposeful. It wasn't luck because it's all the combos they're very specific in what can chain to what can, subsequent move. So it's fast enough where it looks cool, but slow enough where it's like, wow, I can see this guy knows what he's doing. Like anybody that's watching can kind of follow. Whereas like, and I love Marvel vs. Capcom too. I love the frenetic pace, and I always loved like the jazzy soundtrack. I just thought it was unusual. It's kind of just weird twist that they put on it. But with that one, it was really frenetic, and to somebody just looking at it, it was hard to tell. I think for a lot of people exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
The input complexity thing too is a really interesting debate because like at some level it's really frustrating. Like I can't physically input the move, even though like mind game wise I know I should do it. But there's also an interesting aspect too, which is like a longer input string takes physically longer time to input. So doing a Shoryuken takes longer to input than like a fast punch or something.
Yeah.
So there is that little aspect to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you see, like, I was sending around the, best Evo play ever of like, of like him blocking all the Chun-Li, all the Chun-Li kicks or whatever, and then finishing that fight when he was low. But if you look at it though, when you really watch it, you see that he's actually trying to input the move first, which is the tail that tells him exactly what he's about to do. It sets it up, right? Because he messes it up like the first two times.
You can see that he's doing like the quick.
Exactly, he's trying to do it and he messes it up and he finally gets it, which is like, if for a super skilled player, it's like, oh, I see what he's doing. He messed it up 2 times. I capitalize on his mistakes and I take him out. And there are certain cool, like at a super high level, there's a certain really like finesse and really like mastery and like I appreciate that. But at a very low level, it's like I just kind of want to get that kick out, man. Like I just need to get that out because I know to do it right now. I just need to get it out so I can actually win this fight. So
I mean that's actually a really good segue into this year's Evo roster, right? When I saw it, I was like, we got to have Chris on to talk about this. This is awesome. Me, I'm more of a layman when it comes to like the fighting games. I played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I played Smash Brothers, all that stuff. But what you guys are talking about is in like a whole nother level. And I've seen the Evo plays in the past, like the one, the Chun-Li one you're talking about. And it's fascinating to watch, even if I don't really understand all of it. So let's go over really quick which games are going to be on this year's roster. But Ultra Street Fighter 4, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Super Smash Brothers for Wii U, Guilty Gear. Now, hold on. Guilty Gear 3rd or Zerd?
XR.
XR?
XR, my friend.
XR. You heard it here. Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat 10 or X?
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Okay. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and Tekken 7.
Okay, so first of all, Melee. Okay, first of all, Melee being up there is like the most ridiculous thing ever because like Melee is an old game. Like Melee is a super old game, and like when this list came out, Twitter went crazy because people were like, "Yo, Melee is going to Evo," and like it's like, a lot of people play Smash. But like Smash hasn't. People take it seriously, and Smash has tournaments like Apex and stuff like that. But people don't actually take Smash seriously on like the Evo scene. And the fact that there are 2 Smash games at Evo is like, okay, this is like the year of Smash at Evo, and people are super excited. It's gonna be a lot. And it's when you watch Smash is just different to look at because it is about moves and stuff like that. But it's this whole like King of the Hill, knock people off the base thing that's going on, and like it has probably the second best like wombo combo moment of the internet. Like it has a really strong moment, so people remember that. So I think it's gonna be the fact that that's even there is gonna be kind of crazy just in general.
Absolutely. All right, Matt.
I was just gonna say like for me, it's super inspiring that like just about Evo in general, that sort of like a lot of these games aren't super financially successful. Right? They don't sell a ton of copies, but the communities form around these games and actually show up to stuff like Evo and even make it possible. The fact that Melee is like 10 years old, 15 years old, whatever, like the fact that there's still a community there for that game is just a testament to how good it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I think all these fighting games and franchises have one thing. It's like once you pick up a character and you main it, you kind of like soak that in, and that becomes you essentially. So you stick with that through the games, and you kind of support the franchise as they advance. So I can see why they would have like a community that goes on like that. Like if BlazBlue's out there, I'm maining Hakumen, and like that's just my guy. Or Street Fighter, typically Ken, like everybody else. I don't know if you're familiar with the Ken chart on NeoGAF of how to, throw a fireball, did he jump? If so,
yeah.
Didn't,
No. Can you find that and send it to me? I'll put it in the notes.
Absolutely.
That's
awesome.
basically like Street Fighter 2 in a nutshell, right?
It is the Bible for Ken.
Well, but the fact that there are two Smash Bros. Games like on this list, I mean, mechanically it is a very different game from the rest of them. But do you think that it's right to have two Smash Brothers games?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the thing is about the new Smash, like, it hasn't been out long enough for anybody to really understand it yet. These games are so deep, and it takes so long to understand them that, like, there's no tier list, there's no nothing. Like, there's characters people think are strong, but they're not going to truly understand the new Smash for years to come.
And they're also not going to, and then also a lot of what happens, especially in the community for Smash, people are not going to give out who they think is really good either. They're not going to tell you who their tier list is because they don't want you to pick up they don't want you to pick up that character because you're like, oh, people are like Meta Knight's really good. Okay, well, so Pikachu's really good, but I mean, or Diddy's really good, or like, you never really know. Mario's always good. Like, people are always like, oh, Wario's good or whatever. Like, people always say that, but it's like, well, now you got Little Mac's in there. Is Little Mac really good? I don't know. I played a couple games on the DS and on 3DS or whatever, and the Villager was kind of like ridiculous. I played a couple games against Villager. He's kind of crazy, and then like, oh, well, then I normally play Meta Knight because I just like to play Meta Knight, but it's like, well, as Meta Knight, people kind of hate me because I play Meta Knight because everybody hates Meta Knight for some reason.
Yeah, and just like in general, like playing against, like, if you're playing as an unorthodox or very rarely used player in the term, it's good because most people that you're playing against aren't used to someone who's playing in a crafty way with a player that isn't often used.
Right, they don't have those tells. So
yeah,
you were saying earlier.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think it's very interesting. I think it's going to be I think it's going to really help out. The turnout's going to be huge because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to pick it up and watch it simply because it smashes there. And I mean, I think it's good. I think it's also telling of like just how the fighting community is kind of starting to try to make a comeback. Like they're like repoising to come back when you have like 2 games coming out, people are all in. Everybody's super excited about the new Street Fighter. Like, everybody's ready for that to come out. They're all excited about that, and like, they're ready to go. I mean, there's a niche group that's playing Guilty Gear, but I was ready for Guilty Gear for a long time. I'm super excited about it. Like, Arc System's doing big things, and quiet as kept, a lot of people are really ready for this next Mortal Kombat to come out too. Like, they're really ready for that too. They're super excited about it. And like, the fact is that fighting games are making a comeback, so like, the roster's just going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, people are just going to be even more into it.
And ever since like last generation, I think it really saved the fighting game genre because arcades were dying. So except for in Japan, so where else are you going to play these things? But you can play it online, and now you have a lot of games that folks are just used to doing like couch sort of versus matches. Like, I had never played when I had the PS2. I never played Guilty Gear versus anyone before. I was rocking versus the CPU.
Right.
But when I got it for the 360, it was like, whoa, this is a whole other world. I wasn't ready for it. But it's cool in that way that ever since the last generation with Xbox Live and PSN, this resurgence of fighting games and this large community online. So.
Well, yeah, and with that too, now you have streaming software. You have the availability of it to become a widespread spectator sport. And I think that does nothing but help the entire platform for all of these games. And Evo is like, I think that they were one of the first to the scene in terms of like streaming matches and doing all that stuff. They pioneered that. And for me, even though I'm not super connected, to what they're doing, I think it's interesting. I do have a lot of compassion. I have a lot of appreciation for what they've done to legitimize the streaming platform.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I've got to take a moment to just like lament the death of the Soul Calibur franchise. Because like, I love Soul Calibur since the first one, even since like Soul Edge or Soul Blade or whatever it was on the original PlayStation. Yeah. Like, it's been my favorite fighting game for years. Soul Calibur 5 was atrociously bad, and now it's nowhere on this list. Like, no one's playing it. It's just gone. Yeah. I don't know if they're ever going to make another one. I don't know what to say about it.
It is pretty sad because it was the only real fighting game that really scratched the itch of like weapon-based combat. Yeah. And I think that's a fantasy that people really are interested in because like, everybody's interested in like, martial arts-based combat, which Street Fighter does a great job of doing that. And then people are, then you have like, Guilty Gear and like, BlazBlue and these other games that kind of do like, these all kind of like fantasy style combat.
Yeah, and a little anime twist
on it. And people love that. And I mean, And I think that's really cool. And then you have like the aspects of like Smash, like mash 'em ups, which is like Marvel versus Capcom type stuff, and even like Smash Bros, which is like a mashup of a bunch of different universes. Like what if Mario fought against Diddy Kong or whatever? Like those things are fun and people like that stuff. But like Soul Calibur was the only game that was like, what if somebody took a huge sword versus like a katana, like a samurai katana blade. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Like that. Let's see how those two things work out. Or a bow staff versus this other thing, or like that's really cool. And the fact that it kind of like went away is sad.
It is a shame because whenever I think of Soul Calibur, the first word that comes to my mind is like elegant. Like it had this kind of classy style to it, and just these beautiful animations and just some unorthodox stuff, but it just had this elegant vibe that every time I think about it, that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, definitely pretty sad.
So at this year's Evo, what are each of you guys going to be streaming? If at all, if you're going to be streaming at work, you got it on a little corner while you're working on your stuff, streaming it, what's it going to be? What are you going to watch?
For me, I'll definitely be checking out Smash, because Smash Wii U in particular, because I'm gonna watch Smash Melee but I play a lot of Smash Melee. I want to see what people do with Wii U though, because I want to see what are the characters that people really push on, like what strategies are people really using, because I didn't get to see Apex, so I want to see what people do there. And I'm gonna watch XR, of course. I'm gonna watch XR because I really like Guily Gear, but I'm also gonna watch Persona. The reason why I watch Persona is because Persona is a really interesting game. Another game that Arc Systems did, and I think it's really awesome they did it, because they did a great job of that game of actually they brought the fighting game to the RPGer, which is very interesting with what they did there. And if you ever want to, and all you guys out there in Radio Land, listen to this, if you ever want to get into fighting games, an Arc System style game, I would behoove you to go and get Persona, because it's such a good game. And it slowly gets you into the crazes that Arc System throws at you. It's not too complex. It has characters which you may love from the Persona universe, and you're gonna enjoy it. But it's not like it's hardcore, and it has that aspect to it. But it's not like like BlazBlue and Guilty Gear, which is like, yep, we're gonna kick you in the teeth as soon as you come to this game unless you're super into fighting games. This game will ease you into it, and eventually get to a certain level, and it's really intense and very technical. So. Persona 4 Arena is really awesome. Like, it's a really good game to check out.
Chris?
Well, I'm looking for Ultra Street Fighter 4, so I'm trying to see what I haven't followed it since really Super Street Fighter 4, so I'm trying to figure out what the changes and balances are, and what people are using these days in competition, who they're maining. Also, obviously, Guilty Gear XR. I want to see who else is who is maining what characters right now. I mean, Soul is always kind of a go-to with that, because it's just such a well-done character. But I see that like a character like Ramlethal has a lot of potential, and it's really interesting. She's got an interesting mix-up game where you're essentially controlling the main character plus two floating swords. And so the whole idea is to frustrate and kind of confuse people as to the timing, and use those swords that can teleport towards your opponent and swing to confuse what's coming up first. So they can get in with the sword, and then they can go in and do their thing. So that's an interesting character to me, but that's who I'm following right now, and I'm hoping that somebody in Evo will main with Venom. I've been trying to use Venom right now because it's an interesting, like I said, different type of character for me to use. It's like a whole lot of setup involved, and he requires a whole lot of space in order to set up. I guess how to back up. He's sort of like an assassin pool player.
So he's the guy with the pool cues.
He's got the pool cues. So he's essentially setting up these floating pool balls in the air, but he needs space in order to do it, or else he's vulnerable to attack. Mm-hmm. So he's got to set that up, but he can make trick shots in the air and basically knock down damage on you, chip it away. So it's an interesting one, but I think we'll see what happens.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to be watching Street Fighter also. Like, I've been into the Soul Calibur sort of 3D fighting game arena for so many years that, like, 2D fighting games just blow my mind now. Like, I haven't really been into a 2D fighting game since, like, Street Fighter 2 back on the SNES. So, Street Fighter 5 is coming out. Soul Calibur is dead. It's time for me to get back in. Like, I'm going to start paying attention to Street Fighter 4, see if I can get back in there. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm going to check out Smash. I mean, a lot of the other stuff is over my head. I'm not going to beat around the bush, but I have been playing Smash Brothers, and I still can't understand why. And this is a really quick aside. Why Nintendo can't get their online game in order, because I tried to play games through Nintendo, like through just on the internet, through my Wii U, and it's still, the connection issues are bad. And Smash is a game that you have to have precision to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really interested to watch professionals, like I say professionals because these people are, to watch these professional players play Smash, because I'm not able to do it myself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely, and with no lag.
Yeah.
It's a totally different experience.
That's a whole other topic, is talking about fighting game lag online versus,
very different experience.
couch playing. It's not even the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I assume that Evo isn't holds tournaments, online, right?
Yeah.
It's all done in the same room.
Got to.
I mean,
If you guys out there are like super nerdy about replication and online fighting games, you should look up an article that the people that did Skullgirls. They actually did. They did an article about how they actually wrote their online replication for the game, and it's actually very interesting, their approach to how they did it. Where they basically when you're looking at fighting somebody else online, it's basically all a prediction and a lie as what they're actually doing, because they predict what they think you're going to do, and you might not actually do it. So the person that you're fighting is actually may not be the command that they actually input on their end. It's completely insane, but it works because the matches still end up having the same outcome, but it's just a very interesting approach to fight a game like online, like actual making you feel, because I mean most online people know online games are basically it's a magic trick. It's really something happening, but it's actually not. So like their approach is very interesting. I think it's probably an approach that a lot of games try to take. I don't know how it really works playing, because I know you put a lot of Hakumen, and he's a super technical character, and these super technical games, I'm not really sure how they pull it off. I would love for somebody from Arc Systems to come out and really say exactly how they do it, because Hakumen he's a counter character, and how that actually works, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I didn't notice it necessarily whenever I would use Hakumen, but Ragna a little bit when I would do some of the quarter circle moves. I could see that they were on bad connections, that he would complete, he would do a DP, which, Dragon Punch. He would do his version of the Inferno Divider, I think is his proper name. But
he's a proper name.
But yeah, like Josh was saying, going into that, the Hakumen character that I like a lot. I like it because he's an interesting setup in that his drive, which is based on that whole system, the do something cool button is a counter. So it's ineffective if the enemy doesn't do anything. So, but if he hits, if you try to hit and if you time it right, this little shield pops up and he can catch him and kind of flip him over, and then that takes a little bit off, and he can follow up with a combo if you know what follows what. So I like the whole mechanic of trying to guess what the next person's going to do. And so
that's what fighting games are, man. It's all about the mind game.
Games against this dude playing Hakumen, and I still have not taken a single match off of him. I've taken a set. I've taken that. I'm not taking a set off of him yet. And my Ragnar's not bad. It's not bad. Like I'm actually, my Ragnar's good. It's not bad, and I have not beat him in a match.
You should see Josh as he's saying this. He's very serious about how not bad he is.
And the thing that's funny online is, and the thing is what frustrates most players is that most players, when they're encountering other characters, they can go full on and they can be completely aggressive, and it's frustrating to knock a guy down, knock Hakumen down, and wait for him to get up, and you're expecting to start going into your combo again, and then he catches you with a counter and flips you over, and then does his thing. So it's a very frustrating match if you're good with catching it. And I used to be really big on this, and I have a YouTube page where I uploaded my matches and everything. And just once, I'm 1 versus 8 versus who was the #1 ranked player on Xbox Live at the time, Pisces Albafica. And so that's on YouTube.
You gotta send me a link, man.
I've watched.
Put it in the comments.
Hell yeah!
I've watched the videos.
Well, that's awesome, guys, and I think hopefully a lot of people will check out Evo, because at the end of the day, I do think it is what they're doing is a really good thing for the game industry, and like I said, I think it helps legitimize a lot of what these companies are doing, and also in terms of distributing it through stream, I think is really important, because that helps that helps promote games in general, and also turns it into a sport, spectator sport. So
absolutely does.
Cool. So let's talk about what we're looking forward to in 2015. It's the beginning of the year. Real quick, I just want to get what games you guys are looking forward to and why. So, Josh, which game are you looking forward to?
Wow, what game am I looking forward to? I don't know, man. It's really tough. Like, I'm actually not really. There's not a game out that is not already out that I'm not actually looking for. Like, I'm playing all the games I was super excited about, and I'm so in the moment with all of those that I'm like, I don't know. Like,
so it's like a continued experience for like League and stuff like that.
It's League. I'm really into that. Like, Guilty Gear came out, so I was looking for that, and that's out, so I'm playing it. Smash came out, and looking for that, and I'm playing it. So those things that's kind of where I'm at. Evolve, like I said, I'm looking forward to playing that game. And I guess the one that I'm reluctantly excited about, but I know that it's going to destroy my life is Bloodborne. Like, I really can't wait for that game to come out, because I didn't play any of the other ones, not because I thought they were bad, because on purpose I knew that it would kind of suck in my life, and I was like, I'm not going to get into that. That's an itch that I know that I will want to scratch for a long time, so I'm going to let it be. But when I saw the footage of this game, and there's like guns and zombies and like all this stuff, I'm just like, all right, they got a switch axe in it. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I can't fight any longer. I'm in, and I'm gonna when it comes out, I'm gonna play it a whole lot. I'm really excited for that one.
Chris?
Well, the one game I'm looking forward to is Uncharted 4.
Yeah. Do you think that's this year?
Is that 2015?
I think it is.
Well, I think what I'm saying is I think that's what they say now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
A little bit of that delay action later.
Well,
I mean, it'd be great.
Chest hair, take some time.
It looks phenomenal.
It's amazing. I mean, I was actually just looking at a Game Informer article on it as well, and I was just so impressed by how much of a labor of love it is for that team to put all that detail in there. One thing with this generation that I kind of was disappointed about is like there seems to be a lot of multi-platform games, and so it's kind of hard to have to see what each system is really capable of. If you have developers that we have to make it so it works well enough on this system, and if this system is more powerful or about the same, we'll just increase the texture memory. But it's cool when you have like something like Naughty Dog where they can concentrate on just one system and squeeze everything they can out of it. So you can see what the console is really capable of, and it's just amazing what they've been doing so far. I mean, the sort of the headshots of Drake and just the detail that they've been putting in is just amazing.
Yeah, and they're going to find a way to juice those graphics to the max.
I just can't wait. It's going to be really like a graphical showcase. Something you show people if you want to show off your system. That's what
absolutely. I mean, Naughty Dog is Sony's kind of star player on the team, right? I mean, they're
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the gameplay video that came out with that vertical gameplay that came out with was just like, it was mind-boggling. Like just the stuff they're doing. It's like you're swinging and doing all this stuff, and I mean, it's really a testament of not only of being able to, from a technical performance perspective, be able to squeeze every ounce out of the engine and out of the console. There's also an aspect of just a team working on a game for so long and really being able to take like the heights of combat and platforming and like really like push it together. And if that gameplay video is indicative of anything, I think it's a very high level of praise, but maybe they'll push like the current like action platformer game to the levels of like where Mario 64 kind of push like just straight platformers at, because like it's a lot of stuff going on that you don't normally see, because most games are, I platform, I fight, and that's what Uncharted 2 was, and everybody loved Uncharted 2. Uncharted 2 was I platform, I fight, I platform, I fight, and then maybe there was a moment or two in there where they try to kind of try to combine it, but for the most part it was very separated. But this game, like you're swinging around on stuff, you're fighting, the dudes are up here, you got to jump up there, you can run around, like it's all of it's combined together, and I think that's going to make for a really crazy gameplay experience.
Absolutely. Matt?
Bloodborne. There is no other answer.
You guys are taking my...
I mean, I'm sure you're going to talk about it too. It is by far the most hyped game of 2015, just off of Dark Souls alone, right? Because Dark Souls is probably one of the best games, if not the best game for me, that's come out in the past 10 years, 15 years. It's just a total landmark. And I think it's been super influential too. Like every game is looking at that now in terms of like how to make people really feel accomplishment when they do something in a game, and how difficulty can be actually used. You don't have to handhold players. And so Bloodborne's coming out. They're taking that whole like dark fantasy vibe, but they're shoving it into like Lovecraftian gothic horror. It looks amazing. I'm all in day one.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna jump in. Yeah, that's mine as well. I absolutely love the art style that they're going with. Like you said, I was gonna say Lovecraftian or Victorian, any of that stuff. I really like that aesthetic. I like guns, so the fact that there's firearms in the game is really cool. But more than anything, what I love about the Dark Souls games and all of that is the communal aspect of playing these games, right? They do, when you play a game like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, it's like you come into the office or you go to school and then you tell your friends about the experience you had. And then they're like, oh wait, but did you see that illusionary wall there?
Yes.
And you're like, no, I didn't. Well, okay, well if you jump over the barrel when it's going down the stairs, it'll blow open a wall and then you'll get to a bonfire. And you're like, what? I had no idea. And it's that type of interaction with other people that I haven't seen in a video game since I remember playing like back on the NES, SNES.
Yeah, it's like a Nintendo Power.
It totally is.
Yeah,
and there is no other franchise. I'm going to say franchise because I'm going to lump it in, under the Dark Souls franchise. There is no other franchise that I think has really done that in games in like the past like 10 years for me. So yeah, that's my number one for the year. Absolutely.
Definitely.
All right, guys. So is there anything you want to say to the community real quick before we sign off?
I would say everybody play League of Legends. Pick a free to play game and play it. Pick a free to play game and play it. Give developers a reason to give you their games for free and let them work to be able to give you something cool, because I think free to play it's not for everybody, but I think it's very ripe for a lot of stuff. And continue supporting your indie developers on Kickstarter and stuff like that, so those games can continue to have support, because we don't want those things to fall off, because those are the things that make your AAA games actually good. Because if you don't know, most AAA games steal a lot of stuff from those guys, because those are the testing grounds for a lot of things. So keep giving those guys your money and your attention, and help those guys continue to make the games that a lot of big publishers just won't do without, because they just can't afford it or they can't take the risk.
Well, I can't top what Josh said. I mean, it's pretty succinct, but I will say, get out there and support these fighting games, and give Guilty Gear a try. Come play online. I got like 25 people that I play with online. Let's fill the room up, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for Chris, for Matt, for Josh, thank you for listening, and check out the new Boss Key webpage, bosskey.com. We're going to be doing articles there every single week, and check out our YouTube page. We're doing all sorts of fun content like this podcast. Why are we doing this? Because we like games, and why not? That's the great thing about working at this company. Is that we're able to do stuff like this, and give you guys kind of an open window look into what we're doing. So yeah, just come along for the ride. Check out the subreddit, and all this promotional stuff I'll stop talking about right now. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next month.
Peace out, guys.
Take it easy, guys.